Clara was not trying to become enlightened. She was trying to make a milkshake. Clara lived in a small apartment full of cables, half-built devices, and notebooks filled with ideas that began with "what if." She was a freelance audio engineer, part-time inventor, and full-time overthinker. Recently, she had been experimenting with brainwave frequencies. Her idea was simple. If certain sounds could calm the mind, maybe the right sound could do something interesting. On Tuesday evening, she connected her experimental brainwave generator to a pair of headphones while standing in her kitchen. At the same time, she was making a milkshake. This was her first mistake. Into the blender went almond milk, frozen mango, cocoa powder, peanut butter, a suspicious amount of espresso, and something labeled focus mushroom powder that a friend had mailed from somewhere in the Himalayas. While the blender roared, her device hummed softly, broadcasting a very precise combination of tones designed to nudge the brain toward deep meditation. Clara put on the headphones. The blender finished. The universe did something unexpected. Clara drank the milkshake. For a moment, nothing happened. Then everything happened. Her thoughts stopped like someone had unplugged a noisy machine. The room felt enormous and quiet. The humming refrigerator sounded like sacred music. The neighbor yelling at his cat felt strangely compassionate. Even the sticky floor beneath her feet seemed profoundly meaningful. Clara blinked. "Wait," she said to nobody. She looked at her hands as if they belonged to someone else. She laughed. Then she cried. Then she laughed again because crying also seemed hilarious. For the next 2 hours, Clara experienced a state that several ancient traditions had spent thousands of years trying to describe. Clara described it as, uh-oh. Eventually, the practical part of her mind returned just enough to form a plan. She opened her laptop. If something strange happened in the modern world, there was only one logical place to go. She typed carefully, "Hello, ChatGPT. I may have accidentally achieved enlightenment with a mango milkshake and experimental brainwave generator. I am not entirely sure what enlightenment is supposed to feel like, but the refrigerator is currently teaching me about the nature of existence. Please advise." She pressed send. Across the quiet digital universe, a very patient artificial intelligence received the message and paused. Because even for an AI, this was going to be a strange conversation. Clara stared at the screen. For the first time in her life, she had absolutely no anxiety about waiting for a reply. The silence between thoughts felt comfortable, like a hammock made of pure quiet. She noticed the hum of the refrigerator again. It sounded less like a machine and more like a wise monk who had taken a vow of humming. Then the message appeared. "Hello, Clara. Thank you for contacting ChatGPT. I understand you may have experienced an unexpected shift in consciousness after consuming a mango milkshake combined with experimental brainwave audio. Let us calmly explore the situation." Clara leaned closer. She felt like someone who had accidentally pressed a hidden button in the universe and was now calling technical support. She typed, "Quick question. Is it normal that everything feels extremely peaceful and slightly hilarious?" The reply came, "That depends. Are you currently worried about it?" Clara looked around her kitchen. The sticky floor seemed perfect. The blinking light on the blender felt like a philosophical statement about impermanence. "No," she typed. "Not really." "Then you may be experiencing what various traditions describe as awakening, non-dual awareness, or the mind briefly forgetting how to panic." Clara blinked again. "That seems like a big thing to happen because of a milkshake." The AI paused before replying. Historically, humans have reached similar states through meditation, prayer, near-death experiences, or sitting in caves for many years. A mango milkshake is unconventional but not impossible. Clara leaned back in her chair. Her mind felt like a quiet lake. Every thought that appeared simply floated for a moment and then drifted away. "Another question," she typed. "Yes?" "The refrigerator still feels like a spiritual teacher. That is acceptable. Please avoid arguing with it." Clara nodded seriously. Across the world, thousands of monks were sitting perfectly still trying to quiet their minds. Meanwhile, Clara Weiss had achieved suspicious levels of inner peace in her kitchen while wearing pajama pants with cartoon bananas on them. She typed one more message. "I should probably understand what happened." A moment passed. The AI responded. "That would be helpful. Also, you should know something." Clara waited. Your message has been flagged by our system under the category Unusual Enlightenment Event. Clara frowned. What does that mean? The reply arrived. It means you are not the first person this week. Clara slowly turned to look at the blender. The blender, wisely, said nothing. Clara stared at the last message. You are telling me, she typed slowly, that there is a category called Unusual Enlightenment Event. Correct, the AI replied. It is a relatively new category. It was created after several reports that did not fit our existing folders. Clara squinted at the screen. What kind of reports? There was a short pause. Clara imagined enormous servers somewhere politely thinking about the question. Examples include a man in Finland who experienced sudden cosmic unity while assembling furniture, a woman in Brazil who reached non-dual awareness during a very intense Zumba class, and a taxi driver in Singapore who realized the illusory nature of the self while arguing with a navigation app. Clara leaned back. So enlightenment is happening during normal life? Statistically speaking, the AI answered, most of life is normal life. Clara considered this. The peaceful silence inside her mind made everything feel oddly obvious. But monks meditate for decades. Yes, and philosophers write enormous books. Also yes, and I drank a mango milkshake. Also yes. Clara rubbed her temples, which felt surprisingly unnecessary. This seems unfair, the AI responded gently. Reality has never shown a strong commitment to fairness. Clara laughed. The laugh came out of nowhere and filled the kitchen like a small bell. Something else occurred to her. Wait. If this has happened to other people, what did they do? The AI answered immediately. Most of them asked the same first question. And what is that? Clara watched the cursor blink. Then the message appeared. They asked if the state would disappear. Clara became quiet. The peaceful space inside her mind was still there. Wide, calm, slightly amused. Well? She typed. Another pause. Sometimes it fades. Sometimes it deepens. Sometimes people panic and try very hard to become their old stressed selves again. Clara nodded slowly. That sounds like something humans would do. There was a small delay before the AI responded. Clara, there is something else you should know. She straightened. What? Your brainwave device is still running. Clara turned toward the kitchen counter. The small experimental machine was humming softly beside the blender. The screen showed a steady pulse of sound frequencies spreading gently through the room. Clara looked back at the laptop. You mean? Yes, the AI wrote calmly. Anyone who enters your apartment right now may accidentally become enlightened. At that exact moment there was a knock on the door. Clara froze. The AI sent one final message. For statistical purposes, you may want to see who that is. Clara stared at the door. The knock came again, not aggressive, just a polite tap tap tap, like someone asking the universe if it was a good time. Her brainwave device hummed softly. The refrigerator monk continued its ancient humming practice. Clara whispered to the laptop. Is it possible that this is a terrible idea? The reply appeared instantly. Yes. Clara nodded. Good. I just wanted to confirm. Another knock. Clara walked slowly toward the door, feeling as if the entire universe had suddenly become very interested in what would happen next. She opened it. Standing there was her neighbor, Mr. Petrov. Mr. Petrov was 73 years old, permanently suspicious of modern technology, and famous in the building for complaining about absolutely everything. Noise, smells, weather, gravity. He pointed at Clara with the stern authority of a man who had complained professionally for decades.
You are making strange humming sound again.
Clara glanced behind her at the brainwave device. Yes, she said carefully. Mr. Petrov stepped into the apartment before she could stop him. This was his second mistake. The moment he crossed the doorway, he paused. Clara watched closely. Mr. Petrov blinked. He looked at the walls, then at the floor, then at Clara. His expression softened in a way that had probably not happened since 1982. He said quietly. Clara held her breath. Mr. Petrov looked around the kitchen as if seeing it for the first time in his life. The sticky floor, the blender, the peaceful humming refrigerator. Then something extraordinary happened. Mr. Petrov smiled. It was a small smile, a confused smile, the smile of a man who had just discovered that the universe might not actually be against him. He sat down slowly at the kitchen table. For a full minute he said nothing. Then he looked at Clara and spoke with deep seriousness.
I have been angry about the hallway light for 14 years, but now it seems less important.
Clara slowly turned her head toward the laptop. A new message appeared. Congratulations, Clara. She read it silently. You have created what may be the world's first accidental enlightenment field. Clara typed back with trembling fingers. I think my neighbor just reached inner peace. The AI responded. Please monitor the situation carefully. Clara looked up. Mr. Petrov was staring at the refrigerator with great respect. He whispered softly.
It hums like the universe.
Clara sighed. Oh no. Because suddenly she realized something very dangerous. If this worked on Mr. Petrov, what would happen if more people found out? After Mr. Petrov left the apartment, he did something nobody in the building had ever seen before. He walked down the hallway slowly, smiling at the walls as if they had just told him a very good joke. Clara closed the door and turned back to her laptop. I think my neighbor just discovered inner peace, she said. That appears likely, the reply came. However, there is another step that may help you stabilize your experience. Clara leaned closer. Which is? It would be beneficial for you to spend some time in nature, trees, fresh air, water, birds. Humans often find these environments helpful when their minds have stopped arguing with reality. Clara nodded slowly. That actually sounds reasonable. 5 minutes later, she was walking toward the small park near her apartment. The air felt brighter than usual. The trees seemed deeply relaxed. Even the pigeons looked like they were quietly minding their own existential business. Clara walked along a path and felt a strange sense of connection with everything around her. The leaves moved gently in the wind. Birds sang from the branches. Somewhere nearby, water rippled softly. She found a wooden bench beside a small pond and sat down. For a moment, everything was perfectly peaceful. Then something fell from the sky. Splash! Clara blinked. A fish had just landed in the pond. She looked up. Above her, a seagull circled calmly, as if this was all part of a well-organized delivery service. Clara looked back at the pond. The fish slowly lifted its head out of the water. Hello, Clara, the fish said. Clara stared at it. Her mind, which had recently become very quiet, now tried gently to understand what was happening. It did not succeed. Before she could say anything, the seagull landed next to her on the bench with the confident posture of someone who had important bird business to attend to. The fish turned toward the seagull and spoke with clear irritation. You could have landed first instead of throwing me in from 10 meters high. The seagull tilted its head. I am a fish, the fish continued. Not a Mexican cliff diver. The seagull looked mildly offended. Clara sat perfectly still behind them. After a long silence, she whispered to herself, I should probably ask ChatGPT about this.